have you back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. We're still keeping tabs on the biggest story in the financial markets happening right about now. An emergency meeting in the nation's capital, Abuja, between the central bank, bank CEOs, and treasury managers on developments in the foreign exchange market, trying to decide the fate of the Naira, if you will, and foreign reserves, which as of June 17 is put at $29 billion. Still talking about the workers and the state workers and the state governors who owe them salaries. Now, the state governors of this affected state claim that the critical state of the country's economy is what has made it impossible for them to pay salaries. So, at first, they asked for a bailout, but shoved that and asked for a refund of the monies used for federal government projects, federal projects in the state. So, what are they actually asking for? It's one of the things we're going to be talking about on the program. But let's take a look at some of those affected states. We're starting with some of the numbers. Yes, you see that on your screen. According to correspondence across the bureaus, channels correspondence across the bureaus, the states affected are Abia, Bauchi, Benue, Ekiti, Enugu, Gombe, and Imo, owing between 1 month and 9 months salaries. Other states are Kogi, Ondo, Osun, Oyo, Plateau, and Rivers State. And what you have in the next two boxes there are figures from the National Bureau of Statistics showing what these states generated in terms of internally generated revenue for the year 2014 and 2013. Just on Wednesday, the National Bureau of Statistics published the internally generated figures for 2014. For Abia State, there is no data for 2014 or 2013, so we do not know how much the states generated for that month. We're also talking about Bauchi. Bauchi had about 4.85 billion naira generated in 2014, and they're owing about 2 months' salary. Now let's talk about some other states like Plateau State, for instance. Plateau State is owing 6 months' salary and 7 months in pension entitlements. For Benue State is owing 7 months' salary and 4 months of pension. Rivers State is owing 1 month's salary. Now, some of these figures are a little conflicting because as at the time, when I spoke to some of these correspondents, they were giving different messages. Some said, yes, the states were owing, but the state governments actually, sent out press releases to say that that's not the amount of money we're owing. For instance, Imo State said they weren't owing as much as 4 months, like was reported in the media space, but that they're owing 1 month. We also remember that the state governor, Rochas Okorocha, actually said that the salaries being owed teachers in the school, primary school teachers, will be paid about 13 months. So those are the stories that are coming up at this time, and it's still coming at the same time as we're seeing the amount of monies that are being generated by the states. Now, according to the report from the National Bureau of Statistics on internally generated revenue, only 23 states submitted their or have data with regards internally generated revenue. 13 states are yet to turn in their data. So let's take a quick look at the top 5. We have Lagos with 276.16 billion naira generated in 2014. It's followed by Rivers with 89.11 billion. Delta, Enugu, and Ogun make up the top 5 states with the heaviest amount generated in 2014. Let's take a quick look at the bottom 5. We have Bauchi with 4.85 billion naira generated in 2014. Nasarawa generated 4.08 billion naira. Kebbi generated 8.3 billion. Ekiti had 3.46 billion, and Zamfara 3.14 billion naira generated as internal revenue for the year 2014. So all of these numbers coming in at a time when some of these states are complaining that they cannot pay salaries. Don't forget, they collect monthly allocation from the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, which is disbursed on a regular basis, but it's been on a down low. Talking about all these numbers with me at this time is Segun Shele. He is a chartered accountant. Good morning to you, Segun. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
I've been reeling off a lot of numbers.
Yes,
and
I pity the level at which we're going at it.
It's not a particularly interesting time,
Honestly,
because you see, it makes a lot of people wonder, if you have so much money generated internally, why can't we take care of overhead cost? You talk about collecting federal accounts allocation, and then you're saying that you're going to use that to pay salaries, clear debts, do infrastructural projects, and the rest of it. So what's happening to the monies? What's going wrong? Why aren't the books tallying?
Yeah, I think that's a question we should be asking, and then they providing answers, the governors. Because the facts are there, the figures are here. The Bureau of Statistics, the National Bureau of Statistics has given these figures. The governors have not been totally clear and maybe quote and unquote use the word being honest with the way they've been going at this thing. I heard even in the news yesterday that Ogun State was contesting when it was stated that they too were holding in their staff salaries, and they claim they are not, that they've actually paid, that people should check their facts correctly. And a TV station now, of course, the reporters went there or decided to call up the labor leader there, the assistant labor, excuse me, the assistant president of the labor union, and he said, yes, we have collected net pays, as it were, but deductions from our salaries, cooperatives, and the rest of them, they've not remitted, so they are holding on to some number of months of these monies. So it's clear that there are issues, and then people, those in charge, have not been totally honest. They've been extremely stingy with information. They should release the information. Let us get to know these things. Lay your cards on the table. Let's see where you are.
So it's a case of accountability. But let's talk about these numbers. Do you think it's a case of lack of financial planning and cash flow management that has resulted in these books not being, some of the state governors not being able to balance their books in terms of being able to pay salaries, owing salaries for as much as 9 months?
Yeah, it's both, actually. You have both as a problem. They are not planning well. Like it's been said, we see the breakdown of the federal government budget. I'm not sure whether you've seen the breakdown of any state government budget in the last 3, 4, 5 years. The budgets are such that you hear the figures are so much, and then we just take it in hook, line, and sinker. That's what they run with. Now, we are expecting that at this level, questions should be asked. In what way? How have you utilized even the ones that have come to you? Maybe the people, the so-called human rights activists are really not looking at this area. We are not calling questions. We are not asking questions on some of these governments.
Asking questions now in terms of the monthly fact that comes in,
and
or how they spend IGR.
Both, actually. Well, we've seen from the records that IGR for most of the states is actually not fantastic. They rely more on what comes from FAC. They wait for end of the month to pick up their monies. In fact, most of the challenges the nation has today is by reason of the way they help in dwindling the reserve, the fiscal reserve, from the excess crude account. They were the ones agitating the most. Let us have these monies, it belongs to us. They kept agitating with the Minister of Finance. I mean, the former minister at that time. In as much as she was explaining, why don't let's save for the rainy day? The rainy day is here now. Without umbrellas, we are not being beaten blue, black, and blue. So we ordinarily should be going back to them to make them give us clear figures. You have received so much. How did you utilize the monies at your disposal? Both from FAC and even the IGRs.